Hello everyone and welcome back to the Great Book of Grudges. My name is Nathan and we are going to do something a little bit different. We've been granted early access to Stronghold Warlords, the newest installment to the Stronghold series by Firefly Games. Now, as a bit of context, I love the Stronghold series. Stronghold Crusader will always be one of my all-time favorite games, so having the chance to be able to check this out pre-release is always really cool. I've had a decent amount of time to play the game, and what I want to do with this video is form the basis of an honest review, going over the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, Stronghold Warlords is the newest installment to the Stronghold series. It's actually been a fair amount of time since Firefly, the developers, have actually released a new game. The setting itself has changed rather radically. The previous game settings were more focused on medieval Europe, or with the Crusader format, but this takes us to the far east of China. A bit of a strange setting considering what we're normally used to, but with all that being said, let's just go check out how Stronghold Warlords actually plays. The game itself has 5 different campaigns, each of them with 6 missions, barring the one known as the Path of Peace, which is more of an economic campaign. And yes, what you're seeing on screen is actually how the game is right now. The screen itself, when on the campaign menu, has a lot of dead space, which is rather unfortunate. I thought it was because I am on a 4K monitor, but I've asked a fellow creator who's also got access, who's on a 2K monitor, and he has the same issue. It's not a deal breaker or anything, but I need glasses the majority of time to play, so something like this just makes it a bit difficult for me. That being said, the art style itself is nice. It's nothing too overbearing, and it's just there to form the basis of you to pick your missions. It's all streamlined, so you're not really going to have too much of a time on this page. The campaigns themselves are rather short in my opinion, but they do have a decent amount of story to keep you engaged. I myself have always treated the campaign system as a way to learn the game, get around the mechanics, learn which troops are optimal or not, and then test myself out on skirmish mode before moving on to multiplayer. This game itself has a very strong multiplayer focus. The campaigns themselves will start off relatively easy, and they'll get harder as you progress, so don't you worry about that. I was in fact concerned at the beginning that the campaigns might be too easy, but as you start moving on to the more specialist ones, it does get a little tougher and it will keep you on your toes. I'd say difficulty, regardless of the actual difficulty setting, is more or less a medium. Nothing too tough, but then again, as I said, these are better yet served as a proper tutorial rather than the absolute basic baseline tutorial. Skirmish and multiplayer was of course the main thing that Stronghold was always known for, where you could build up massive castles and fight against the AI to various degrees, or take your chances against a multitude of different players. Everything on the basic lobby seems and feels like an old school Stronghold game. My big issue here though is that there is a massive lack of maps. There's not that many, in fact. I'm not sure if they have further maps planned down the line, but 9 maps doesn't really seem like a lot. There's not a lot of variety, though the maps themselves do look quite good. We are aware that this game also allows for community-made maps, but more official ones would be great, as those could most likely be considered the most balanced. The battles themselves still very much feel like Stronghold. The enemy AI will constantly send forces to harass you and try to hinder your improvement. In this clip, I was fighting against 2 different AI. We had a free-for-all match here, but they were the strongest ones possible. I set up a 5-minute peace timer to see how the AI would react, and they built up their fortifications quite quickly. Now, I myself am not a fortification type of guy. I build up a basic wall to keep the defenses, but my playstyle generally focuses around harassment with a bunch of ranged weaponry, primarily horse archers as they were my favorite unit back in the Crusader days. What you may have noticed in this clip is that there is a little bit of stutter. I'm not sure what's been causing that, because I'm not the only guy having that issue. I've spoken to some other creators and they've said that that's also there too. It's nothing too game breaking, but it does get rather annoying if you're trying to build up some buildings and the stutter then makes you build it somewhere else. If you've played through any of the previous Stronghold titles, you'll feel right at home here. Most of the mechanics of former games are still here. It adds a sense of familiarity, which is obviously very welcome. The Stronghold series hasn't really seen too many changes over the years, and actually that's a positive thing. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. An issue I do have with the game, however, is with the minor warlords. They form a rather large presence within the skirmish maps, but the issue is that holding onto them can be a bit of a problem. You see, you can either take them by force or get them diplomatically, and it looks like the AI will normally go for them diplomatically, meaning that you could already have taken over them, and within a few short minutes they'll convert to the other side. This is something that can be quite frustrating, as it just presents a bit of a problem there if you're not defending that area. The fact of the matter is too, you could have spent a lot of your influence on that specific minor warlord, and that all being gone to waste within a matter of minutes. Other than that, as I said, if you like Stronghold, this is still a Stronghold title. It's still rather enjoyable. You'll still see enemies building up massive castles, and sieging them is very satisfying. Multiplayer I've not had a lot of time to play over, but I did a few matches with a channel that I collaborate with often, LUSC, and it was fairly interesting. We did some matches regarding us two versus the hardest AI, and tried to see what we could do to fight against them with our two different playstyles. My biggest issue with the game is the lack of proper customability when you look towards your keyboard, your mouse, and so on. Everything's set to specific hotkeys, which you kinda just have to figure it out for yourself, and that can be quite frustrating, especially if you want to jump in directly into skirmish or multiplayer. One thing I've always enjoyed about these games is the free build maps. It's just something to relax with a bit, you know? Some background music and just build up a castle to try and make something quite thematic. You won't get pestered by enemy AI, and you have a whole map to work around with, so the sky's really the limits. But with here, we'll discuss my final thoughts regarding this game. Like I've said, I've always loved the Stronghold series. It's something that's always been very near and dear to my heart. There is of course some issues with the game, but we do have to take into account that production during this has been through a pandemic, and of course that can put a hamper on some things. The issues outlined in this video can easily be fixed in future patches. The setting isn't something too interesting to me, I'll be very honest with you. I'm still hoping for another Crusader. However, it still plays rather well, barring the issues. Like I said, it follows the typical Stronghold format, and yeah, that works perfectly well. Why would you want to break the mold and try something else when this obviously works for you? Do I recommend this game? Well, yes and no in a way. So, if you're a Stronghold fan and you're hoping for another Crusader, you're not going to get another Crusader. The campaigns are still rather short in my opinion, but it's still rather enjoyable. This game is obviously going to have a strong focus on multiplayer, but I really do hope that new maps are introduced both officially and by the fans. If you're an experienced Stronghold player, you're not going to really have any problems getting into grips with this new game. If you're new to the series, however, I would suggest waiting a little bit until some issues have been ironed out. Though if you don't care about the issues I've already stated in this video, by all means give it a try out. It is still rather enjoyable. As of the time of recording this video, I've had a decent amount of hours playtime. And yes, I'm going to reinforce this once again, it still feels like a Stronghold game. Bias to the Crusader series aside, I say I'd give this around a 7 out of 10. It would easily rank as a 8 or a 9 as a Stronghold game if the issues were ironed out. Now of course, these issues could be fixed by launch. Yes, launch is tomorrow, but they have given us access to this build. Who knows what's been happening in the background. It's good to see Firefly Studios still working on Stronghold games. The last proper Stronghold that we had was way back in 2014. They've been reworking a lot of the old classics, which is cool, but a new title is always best, at least in my opinion. But with all that being said, let me know your thoughts about Stronghold Warlords with all the stuff that you've seen. Are you excited for this title, or do you still hope for a Crusader 2? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below, and let's start a bit of a discussion. But with that, my friends, we've come to the end of our video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy the video, might I suggest giving the video a like, or even subscribing to the channel, as it really does help us out. In the description section below are various links to different social media platforms such as Facebook, Instagram, and Discord. Also in the description section is an affiliate link with Element Games where you could buy loads of hobby-based products, not just Warhammer, for 10 to 25% off. Making a purchase using that link and also our special code, which is also in the description, supports the channel at no extra cost to you, which we think is rather cool. A big thank you to our patrons. Your support means the world to us. It's amazing that people want to help a small channel like us grow and get to a higher level of content. A big thank you to Gibraltar LUSC, Ryan Bertsche, Andrew Prince, and Okro for subscribing to us at our Fane level. You guys are super cool. And a big thank you to Edward Yule, VSVasan, Aaron Whitman, and Shaggy for subscribing to us at our King level. Honestly, we can't thank you all enough. And lastly, a big thank you to all of you for liking, sharing, and commenting on these videos. Honestly, it's because of you guys that the channel's been growing at such a great pace lately, so we can't thank you all enough. But with that, my friends, thank you so much for watching once again, and we shall see you all again very, very soon. Have a good day.